Hello everyone, my name is Dmitro Lesnyak and I am AWS Cloud Architect, and today I want to talk about Landing Zone Accelerators, how to build secure and compliant landing zone using AWS Landing Zone Accelerators. But before we start talk about this, let's first check what kind of journey enterprise have at the moment. And current state of enterprises is so that enterprises under the pressure to innovate, scale and stay competitive, and cloud offers this kind of agility, cost efficiency and speed. And cloud promise to bring rapid digital transformation, and there is currently increased demand of cloud native applications as well. Global competitions and customer experience are very demanding at the moment, and this is what a cloud promise to enterprises. But there are many limitations related to this current state. For example, there are lots of governance, security and compliance that enterprises need to implement, especially in regulated industries and the regions like European Union. And what kind of challenges they have? So it lack of centralized governance, and there is security risk when cloud is multi-account, and there are also uncertainties about data resiliency and compliance. All these limitations are stoppers for enterprise to go to cloud very quickly. But cloud adoptions promise to bring agility and speed, and also it can solve those governance and security compliance challenges, and we'll see in the next slides how we can do it quickly and very in agile way. And now there is need for secure and compliant cloud, and organizations across Europe want to accelerate their digital transformation, but they face challenges like power, how to stay compliant with strict data protection laws that EU brings to the companies that are operating in Europe. And the main challenges are data sovereignty. Sensitive data must always remain within EU borders, and there is also quite high regulatory pressure. Different regulatory compliance frameworks like GDPR, SHAMS2 and other national regulations, they becomes more and more complex. There is also security and governance problem, how to be consistent across cloud environments. Operational complexity, usually big enterprises have multi-account structure and multi-team environment, and it is very difficult to manage without good structure in place. And enterprise must find a way to build a secure, scalable and compliant cloud foundation, and this foundation must align with European values of digital sovereignty. That's why AWS introduced AWS Landing Zone, and this Landing Zone brings very many benefits to enterprises to solve exactly those problems that were listed previously. It pre-configure multi-account architecture. It can automatically set up core accounts and different other accounts very easily. And it also align security, create security baselines using guardrails. AWS organization implements those guardrails using security control policies, SCPs, identity and access management, IAM, and using AWS configuration to track configuration changes across your accounts. And there is also governance and compliance benefits. Centralized login monitoring and account provisioning are made very easy. Those new accounts that are part of AWS organizations all provision in such a way that they bring and apply all those security baselines that were defined for AWS organization level. And it is designed for scale. You create this structure and you can add new organization units and new accounts very easily in secure and agile way. And this landing zone offers a secure, scalable and automated foundation for cloud adoption, and this is a solution that can solve those problems and very advisable to apply for enterprises today. And in the end of this year, AWS promised to bring new offer, European sovereign cloud. And this cloud is sovereign by design. Idea is that this is separate infrastructure that AWS built specifically for Europe, for EU. And what are the benefits? Benefits are that the physically and logically separated from any other region. Even global services are not hosted in US like in normal cloud. They will be hosted, everything will be hosted in Europe. There is strong data resiliency controls. All data stays within EU, and you can choose AWS regions inside of this cloud and make sure that data resides exactly in Europe or in region in Europe where you want. Operational autonomy. Everything, infrastructure and operations are managed by EU resident personnel. Everyone that have control from AWS into your infrastructure or environment, they are all residents of European Union. There is improved security and access control. AWS introduced many years ago AWS intro system, and this is main block, and it is implemented from in every, for example, EC2 instances in European sovereign cloud, and it makes sure that even AWS personnel cannot access workloads inside of these EC2 instances without explicit authorization. This is very secure way to run your workload inside the cloud. And compliance first design. There is built-in support for GDPR, SHAMS2 and other national regulations. The main idea of European sovereign cloud is so that it will bring compliance and make sure that strict European regulations are implemented by design. And you can innovate locally now. EU public sector, for example, public sector companies can easily innovate within this cloud without fear that they break some strict compliance and sovereignty requirements. So how to deliver cloud sovereignty with landing zones? There are three main approaches how to do it. And first approach is to use vendor-specific landing zones. Idea is that you utilize some vendor ready frameworks to build a landing zone, and it is usually vendor managed, so if you don't want to use your resources and you want to offload all the infrastructure management and operation to external companies, you give them possibility to implement Landing Zone and manage this Landing Zone. And it brings many benefits. You don't manage infrastructure anymore, and they usually comes with automation tools like Terraform and AWS native tools. And it is ideal for organizations that want to focus on business and don't want to focus on infrastructure management. Then second way is to use AWS Landing Zone Accelerators. Landing Zone Accelerators, this is AWS built frameworks that you can use to easily spin up and customize and create landing zone in AWS, but you still manage and you still responsible for maintaining infrastructure after that. And it is also automated with AWS CloudFormation and SDK. It is ideal for organizations that seek quick and easy setup, and then they want to manage everything themselves. And the third approach is to use custom landing zone. This is for those organizations that have very specific requirements and very specific regulations and needs, and they want to have full control how they implement landing zone. And you as a customer will be managing the infrastructure, owning the infrastructure, and it brings very great flexibilities. You can build whatever you want with whatever frameworks or tools or languages. And this is ideal for enterprises with strong cloud capabilities and the internal team that can handle and have full control, and it brings you much greater flexibility. Now let's talk about AWS Landing Zone Accelerators. Landing Zone Accelerators is a framework that AWS provides for usually open source, and there are different configurations for specific industries. But what it brings automated and secured AWS environment setup. It enforces multi-account best practices. AWS organization built with this framework bring those best practices for multi-account infrastructure. It integrates with IAM, identity and access control, with other systems like Active Directory, Okta, and other. You can integrate easily with your organization. It implements centralized logging and monitoring. It supports different compliance and governance frameworks and enables scalable network architecture, for example, using transit gateway and hub and spoke model. Also, it accelerates your cloud adoption readiness with using these landing zone accelerators. It's easy to build landing zone and then go to production very quickly. And it's very customizable for enterprise requirements. You can change many things, add new customization or extensions. And for public sector, there are different configuration of AWS Landing Zone accelerators. For example, there is healthcare Landing Zone accelerator targeted specific for healthcare industries, and there is for education Landing Zone accelerator, and financial service configuration, and other framework, for example, for governments and defense and others. And the landing zone accelerators accelerate your cloud adoptions, delivering secure, scalable, and governance-ready environment by design. So it is a very nice tool to use if you want to have build a landing zone very quickly and in secure manner. Let's talk about AWS Landing Zone Accelerator for healthcare. Landing Zone Accelerator on AWS for healthcare is open source and industry-specific deployments of Landing Zone Accelerator. It brings best practices and compliance specifically for healthcare organizations. And why to use this framework? First of all, it accelerates your cloud adoptions, especially if you run in healthcare related workloads. It is implement security and governance control out of the box and facilitate compliance with strict healthcare regulations and implements such security compliance framework like GDPR, SHREMS2 and other national regulations. It enables scalable and automated infrastructure deployment, reduce complexity. You can manage sensitive data and regulated workload easily. It is specifically designed so that they are separated in separate organization unit and you can have more strict control for those workloads. It is very customizable and you can meet your strict healthcare regulations. And it comes with no additional cost. This open source tool, and you pay only for resources that AWS for AWS services that you create with this framework, but for framework you don't pay anything. This is for free. And the Landing Zone Accelerator on AWS for healthcare enables healthcare organization to build compliant and secure scalable cloud foundation. Let's take a look on AWS architecture of this landing zone. This landing zone accelerator creates 4 different organization unit: root organization unit, infrastructure organization unit, security organization unit, and workload organization unit. Let's take a look exactly what it creates for each of these organization units. In root organization unit, it creates management or root account. This AWS account contains management of your landing zone. Landing zone is created using AWS Cloud Control Tower, and this account contains Control Tower configuration. It creates AWS organization that created with Control Tower. Also, AWS IAM Identity Center. If you connect if you want to use users from Active Directory or internally manage in AWS or using Okta, it's possible to configure it using this IAM Identity Center. In infrastructure organization unit, there are 2 main accounts: network account that contains all network resources needed to run your landing zone. It usually contains AWS Transit Gateway that contains, for example, endpoints that connected to other workloads in other organization units and accounts. Also, there is a shared services account that contains different infrastructure services that are shared between other organization unit and other accounts. Security organization unit contains 2 accounts: log archive account and audit account. Log archive account contains your logs, and every logs from every account will go to this account using CloudWatch, and it also contains CloudTrail to record your API calls within AWS, and it also contains AWS config. AWS config used to track and secure and make a compliant your configuration. Usually this account also contains a centralized log bucket which contains all logs. Audit account contains security services for your organization, for example AWS Security Hub, Amazon Guard Duty, which use machine learning to track anomalies in your account and other security risks, and AWS KMS, this is for storing your encryption key. Next organization unit is workload organization unit. This unit contains all different workloads for development, testing and production, many different accounts. They all are connected to infrastructure organization unit in network account to have centralized network management. What are security and compliance benefits of using this Landing Zone Accelerator? We have centralized security services, Guard Duty, Security Hub, AWS Config. They all located in one security account, and you have better control and visibility what going on in all your accounts. There is automated guardrails, security control policies, and SCPs enforce restrictions for resource usage, regional access, and other security controls. And usually AWS config rules are used to implement those guardrails, but also other tools. And the AWS config rules, they continuously monitor what kind of configuration you have in your account, and if there is some misconfiguration or non-compliant resources, it can trigger some actions or notify you. Identity and access management. There is a centralized identity and access management using IAM Identity Center. Formerly it was called SSO, and you can define different permission set and enforce least privilege access to your environment. And it audit ready. There is login and monitoring setup. Everything is logged in one account, and it helps you to meet audit requirements and be audit ready when it needed. And finally, there are built-in compliance frameworks that are ready to use with this Landing Zone Accelerator, like HIPAA and C5 and other national regulations. So how deployment pipeline works? It works so that it has installation templates that usually written in AWS CloudFormation, and these installation templates are installed using code pipeline, and configuration files in YAML format are used to customize your landing zone. Everything is run as AWS Cloud Pipeline, as I already said, and it's heavily used AWS Cloud Development Kit or AWS SDK. This is AWS own infrastructure as the code language. It works so that this code pipeline works so that it takes on first configuration files from S3, and then it synthesizes AWS SDK stacks, prepares CloudFormation templates. This is the build stage. Then it prepares everything for deployment and creates a compliant account based on your configuration, and it uses AWS control tower for this. Then it bootstraps all resources in each account, like encryption key, login, security audit, network preparations, different security related configurations, and VPC and other customization. After that, it creates login, centralized login infrastructure. After that, it configures your AWS organization, like security control policies, organization units, and other. After that, it creates a security audit in audit accounts for centralized security monitoring, and after that, it finally deploys the REST and additional resource configuration for your landing zone. All this takes about 30 minutes to run each and every stage, and after that, your configuration ready and you have landing zone configured and installed. We use a hybrid model to deploy landing zone using this Landing Zone Accelerator on AWS for healthcare. And in this configuration, we had all configuration files located in S3 bucket. And after we did some changes in configuration file, we run AWS code pipeline. And this code pipeline deployed landing zone in AWS, but all infrastructure we manage, especially this workload related infrastructure, we manage using Terraform in Bitbucket. And when we have the changes in Terraform, we run through Bitbucket pipeline, and those changes were then deployed to AWS landing zone. And this hybrid deployment brings quite good and flexible and automated way to create your landing zone with Landing Zone Accelerator framework. And then in addition, using Terraform, we managed to deploy other infrastructure, workloads, infrastructures, or other customization. This kind of hybrid model is especially useful for those organizations that are more familiar with Terraform and not with AWS SDK or CloudFormation. What are the key challenges and benefits of using this approach? So key challenges were that SCP propagation delay sometimes was very long, and it may took many minutes if you change some SCP, and if you don't know what to do and doing it for first time, it might take quite long time to know the right way and apply everything. There are also region specific services, and you need to adjust your configuration accordingly. And if there are debugging failures, this is another problem. Cloud stack sometimes failed, and you need to know how to debug it and how to make this cloud stack working and roll back everything. This might take long time, and you need to have some basic experience and knowledge how to work with CloudFormation stacks. But key benefits is that there is clear separation of concerns. Organization unit and account structures, they all separated in different pieces. Security organization unit, network organization unit for network workloads, and workload organization unit for your company specific infrastructure. Faster onboarding, so new accounts are onboarded very fast, and they are onboarded with already set up security controls and everything, all configuration that comes with AWS organization. And it is audit ready by default. Login, monitoring, compliance, everything is pre-configured and ready to use. And all those challenges and benefits, they all help you to speed your development, speed your landing zone creation in very secure and compliant way. What kind of customization and extension we use? So we created a custom control policies that physically, logically separate from other AWS regions. We wanted that we use only Europe region, and we created those custom controls. Tagging policies, we enforce our own tagging policies. Also, we modify login retention policies so that the CloudTrail log retention was increased to meet our compliance requirements. We implemented many different other guardrails to restrict, for example, specific resource types. We use automated role provisioning using Terraform, and we modified centralized login account. We enable VPC flow log, config, and guard duty. And all those customization and extensions deliver extensible and granular control, and it will enhance your visibility and makes your landing zone more secure, just what you want and how you want to configure your landing zone to be more secure and compliant. What kind of lessons we learn and what kind of recommendation we can give? Lesson learned is start simple and then expand. It's better to build first landing zone with default configuration and then change bit by bit and very small changes so that you understand what breaks your deployment pipeline and what works well. If you change everything at once and then see 20 different errors, it's quite difficult to debug and make it working. It is also advisable to involve security and network team early, especially when you build some critical SCPs and you have customizable and special requirements for VPC design. Then it's better to talk with those guys earlier. And you need to understand the SCP behavior, because SCP can be very difficult to debug. If you restrict some actions, then your pipeline fails and you don't know why. You need to disable some SCPs so that you are unblocked for those actions. And debugging can be complex, this is true, and the failures in cloud formations stacks sometimes are very difficult to debug, but there is always good error descriptions, and if you have some experience with cloud formation, it's quite easy at some point to do and implement and debug fix. What kind of recommendation we give? Use infrastructure as a code from day one. In Terraform or SDK, it's much easier and better to use them instead of making changes manually. If you do manually using AWS console, then you can definitely break your pipeline, and those changes are not reusable. It's better to implement using infrastructure as a code from the beginning. And we recommend monitor your shared services cost, because if you don't monitor them, you can have a very big bill in the end of the month, and this what we want to avoid from all costs. And engage with AWS support and community. If you have some problems and you cannot fix it quickly, it's better to talk with specialists or experts, AWS experts, support, or other community members that are more familiar with this framework. And plan for growth. If you design your organization unit infrastructure in correct way, then you can add more account and expand in new region quite easily. So it's better to have some planning before you implement your landing zone. And this comes quite easy after some time. If you build it for first time, then it's better to start simple and then build upon it, and in the end you will have quite good landing zone and good understanding how landing zone accelerated framework works. Thank you very much for your time. This is what I wanted to tell about landing zone accelerators, and specifically about landing zone accelerator on AWS for healthcare. This is our experience, how we use it, and what kind of lesson we learn, and what kind of recommendation we can give you. I hope this was very interesting and useful for you. Thank you very much, and if you have any question, please let me know. Thank you. Bye bye.